The Bureaucrat, a novel by Levi Sweeney, read by the author. Chapter 4. Sid. The caucus continued. It was only supposed to go for 1 or 2 hours, and Thomas D. had a light schedule that day, so he wasn't bored. Rob Straczynski conducted the caucus business officially. His work involved things like roll calls, finding people who wanted to be delegates to the state convention, counting votes, helping people write down their personal information on complicated forms which the GOP had sent them, and doing other complicated tasks involving paper charts and calculators and spreadsheets on a laptop. Rob was kind of chubby and always wore a big, friendly smile. He always looks happy. Thomas D. sipped a cup of black coffee. His mom and dad also drank their coffee black. He guessed that he could have done a lot of the work Rob Straczynski was doing now, but Rob had already volunteered to do it and had more experience. Thomas decided not to say anything. The caucus proceeded without incident and would wrap up soon and on time. They had a short break in the middle of it. Thomas D. went over to Lisa Lionel, the LD chair, who had taken a break from helping Rob Straczynski do his work. Thomas D. thought Lisa needed help, but Lisa had not asked Thomas or Joy the treasurer to give her help. Lisa was wearing a silver Star of David necklace. Thomas felt sorry for Lisa. Lisa was a social studies and language arts teacher at a local Catholic school. Thomas knew that she and her husband were both very hardworking and honest. They seemed happy enough. Because Lisa Lionel was an observant Jew, she was just happy that the caucus was on a Sunday this year, and not a Saturday like it usually was. She really wanted to be here. She cared about helping out. But Lisa and her husband also looked tired and stressed out, like Thomas D.'s parents. Thomas D. realized that Lisa's parents really loved their jobs. Was that true for Lisa and her husband? Lisa was usually happy and chipper, or at least not sad, but she just didn't always look like she was doing great. It was like she was always trying to just hold herself together and just barely succeeding. Lisa went over to the snack table where Thomas was standing nearby. She poured herself some black coffee. She ate some carrots and broccoli from the vegetable platter Thomas had brought. Thomas was the only one who enjoyed the nice, expensive pretzels he had bought. "Hi, Lisa," said Thomas. "How are things going with that work Rob and you are doing? Are things going good right now?" Well, compared to what?" said Lisa. She shook her head. "Oh, it is going all right. How's it going with your work as Sergeant-at-Arms?" "Pretty good. Same here." Lisa thought for a moment. "Thomas, I was talking to Joy earlier about the opening speech you gave during the last break. She said it was amazing, and so did Rob. Usually when me or some other LD chair gives a big speech, it's kind of mumbling and stumbling like it's somebody who shouldn't be doing, or like somebody who shouldn't be trying is doing a bad FDR impersonation or something. But, well, you did something different and unique. You brought people together instead of trying to make yourself look good, and, well..." Lisa sighed and put down her coffee. "Thomas, I know I'm the LD chair, and it's technically my responsibility, but can you please give the closing speech too?" Thomas beamed. "Of course, Lisa. I would love to help you out. You're my friend. You've been doing a lot of hard work for the party for a long time. You got stuck in traffic, and you're working really hard at this caucus. I would love to help out with the closing speech. Sure. I've gotten all my work done as Sergeant-at-Arms for now, and at the end of the caucus, I should be able to get my last bit of work done quickly. Sure, absolutely, I'll help you." Lisa grinned. It was a smile which was sad and happy at the same time. "Oh, Thomas, you're so great, Lisa Lionel gave Thomas D. a big hug. Later, when it was time to give the closing speech, Rob Straczynski announced that Thomas D. had volunteered to give the closing speech. Since most of the 30 caucus goers hadn't been to one before, or at least not in a long time, and because most of them had forgotten how boring caucuses usually were, and because they hadn't expected to enjoy Thomas's speech at the beginning so much compared to what they were doing for the rest of the caucus, they all shouted as if they were one man, "Thomas, get on the stage!" Thomas D., as he stepped onto the stage, decided that it was likely that most of the caucus goers, who were mostly elderly and middle-aged, were probably really bored and looking to see something new and different for once. "Okay," said Thomas. "Thank you all for coming to the LD caucus. This is very important work, and I would like to thank Lisa Lionel, the LD chair, Rob Straczynski, the secretary, and Joy Finley, the treasurer, for all their hard work. My name is Thomas D., PCO, and I'm now going to give the closing speech." Thomas D. prepared to speak. He said into the microphone, "How much do you all know about the Washington State governor's race?" Silence. Most of the 30 caucus goers watched a lot of Wolf News, which is why they were so excited to talk about presidential candidates. But Wolf News did not make a habit of featuring news about any governor's race anywhere. That was a job for the Seattle Globe, and most Republicans in Seattle hated that paper. Rob Straczynski spoke up. Because he had been so busy working, he hadn't talked much. But now he said something. Well, I want to vote for Rich Everett for governor, said Rob, smiling big as usual. A bunch of caucus goers muttered and grumbled to each other. Chuck, the man in the MAGA hat, said, Well, what about Sid Meiber, Rob? That is an excellent question, said Thomas. Let's talk about Sid Meiber and Rich Everett. Yes, why don't we talk about that a little? We have about 5 or 10 minutes before the caucus ends. The 30 caucus goers all nodded and muttered in assent. They all wanted to go home and watch Wolf News, but they also liked Thomas and thought that this was interesting. Lots of them were tired of talking about presidents and thought that talking about governors would be a nice change of pace. Okay, said Thomas. Chuck, Rob, please come to the front. Chuck and Rob came to the front and stood between the audience and Thomas, looking up at Thomas as he stood at the microphone on the stage. Thomas spoke to Rob first. Rob, you said you want to vote for Rich Everett for governor. Is that true? Yes, said Rob, loud enough for the whole audience to hear. Okay, why do you want to vote for Rich Everett, Rob? Rob thought for a minute before speaking. Well, said Rob, he did a good job as a congressman and a sheriff. He's honest and competent. He's a good man with a good family. He's also very good at public speaking. And I personally think he's just a wise, kind person on the whole. Okay, Rob, thanks, said Thomas. Thomas said to Chuck. Chuck, thanks for coming to the caucus. Be sure to speak loud enough so that everyone in the room can hear you clearly. Now, Chuck, do you want to vote for Sid Meiber for governor? Well, yes, I would, I think, if he makes it past the primaries, yes, said Chuck. Chuck's volume was just fine. Okay, said Thomas D. Chuck, why do you want to vote for Sid Meiber if he makes it past the primaries? Why do you support Sid Meiber? Well, I just think he represents me, is all. I like him. I think he's inspiring. Chuck, Rob said a lot of nice things about Everett. Do you agree with any of it? Well, let's see here. Chuck thought for a moment. I know about Everett's reputation, but I'm not sure. Everett just seems unauthentic and insincere is all. I don't really trust him. Interesting. Chuck, you said that you like Sid Meiber? Yes, and I do like Sid. Do you trust Sid Meiber? Yes, I suppose I do. Why? Chuck thought for a moment. Well, he talks straight, like Trump, I guess. He's not like other politicians, and he stuck up for his constituents during COVID, even when it wasn't popular. Sid may be a long shot, but he has a spine. Guts. Thomas D nodded. Okay, I'm going to ask Rob a few more questions. Thomas turned to Rob. Rob, Chuck said that he trusts Sid Meiber. Do you trust Sid Meiber? Rob laughed and shook his head. No, Thomas, I do not. Why? Rob shrugged. Because he talks a big game, but he has hardly accomplished anything in life. Everett is the opposite. Grumbling and muttering from the caucus goers. A lot of them supported Sid Meiber. Thomas extended his hands. Let's have a bit of calm, he said. We are almost done here, and I want to ask Rob some more questions. I just want to make it clear that I respect all opinions, both majority and minority. Lisa was in the back. She clapped very loudly, and Joy clapped too. Thomas smiled. Rob, he said, you said that Everett is honest. Would you agree that Everett is honest? Yes, I would, said Rob. Okay, Rob, why do you think Everett is honest? Well, said Rob, it is well known that Everett has never had a scandal in his past. Even when people were complaining back in the 80s and 90s that he was taking too long to catch the Black River Butcher. Well, I just want to say, do you think arresting criminals is easy? Would you try to do it? Some people at the caucus laughed. Even Chuck laughed. Thomas snickered. Okay, Rob, we just have a few more minutes. I'm going to ask you and Chuck just a few more questions. Is that okay? Rob chuckled. He was having fun, and he liked Thomas. Sure, kid. I'm down with that, said Chuck. Okay, said Thomas. Chuck, I have a question for you. Shoot. Rob said that Everett is well known to not have had any scandals in his past. Do you agree? Chuck cocked his head to one side. Well, I guess that's basically true, Thomas. Okay. Do you know if Sid Meiber has any scandals in his past? Everyone in the caucus laughed out loud for about a minute. It was well known that Sid Meiber had a lot of scandals in his past. Even Chuck had laughed out loud. Finally, he said, Yes, I know a lot about Sid's scandals, it's true. He's kind of a shady character, I admit. Said Thomas. Most of the time, people vote for candidates with few or no scandals, but ignore or dismiss candidates with lots of obvious, well-known scandals, like Sid Meiber. But that's not true for you, Chuck, or a lot of other people here. So, why do you support Sid Meiber? Chuck thought for a moment. I just like him, that's all. It's like I said earlier, he has a spine. Thomas turned to Rob. Rob, one more question, then we'll call it a day. Do you think that Sid Meiber has a spine? Rob cocked his head to one side. Well, my dad used to say that it's one thing to have a spine, and it's another thing to have gall. Sid Meiber has a lot of gall. Said Thomas. Does Everett have a lot of gall? No, said Rob Straczynski with his big happy smile, but I think he has a spine. Laughter from the audience. Thomas D. said, I think we are all a little tired out from all this talk about politics. Please go home and read a newspaper or listen to the radio for a little bit. Goodbye. Thomas got off the stage. Everybody clapped for about a minute. Just before the crowd dispersed and everyone went home, someone, somewhere shouted, Hey, that was only 4 minutes! This is The Bureaucrat, a novel by Levi Sweeney, read by the author. You have just listened to Chapter 4. Thank you for listening.